In this demonstration, we're going to create a summary request. Now, sometimes you may want a summary request that provides a single line summarizing selected information for each group, as opposed to providing all of the details found in the detail request. For example, you might want a report that shows you how much business you have done with each dealer. Now, there are two different types of columns in a summary report, group identity and summary data. And we'll be able to see how we build these as we go through our example. So to start, we're going to select the New button from the Request Manager. And in the Select Type of New Request dialog, we're going to click the Summary tab. Now, as we choose, in this case, we're going to choose the same standard style that we use, the presentation style, although if we wanted to, we can choose any of the other details that we have available to us for creating the proper summary report that we want to work from. Now, you'll notice that the summary request dialog looks very similar to the detail request dialog. There are very subtle differences, which I'll point out to you as we go through. First thing we're going to do is give this one a name. In this case, we'll call it TS Sum. And we're going to call this the Cars Sold to Dealers request. Oops. Let's type it in properly. Dealers. That's a little bit better. Now we click over to the Select Data Items tab, and as we do this, you'll notice the big difference here is that you now have access to some of these summary options down below. And so in here you can do a sum, an average, a minimum, maximum, a distinct count, or a count of all records. In this case, we're going to start off by selecting the items that we want to work from, and we are going to jump down to the Sold to Dealer Name. Now, in this example, I could actually scroll down through this list, or to make it easier, I'm going to pull down this list and simply choose Dealers. This immediately filters out all of the data items that are only related to dealers. And so now I can easily find, oh, here we go, Sold to Dealer Name, and I'm going to move this field over. Now the next field that we want to put in is we want to be able to take a look at the count of how many cars we sold to this dealer. So in this case, I'm just going to click on Count, and it immediately adds a column onto my report, and we can see that in the preview area as well. And we're also going to move over the car sales price. So in this case, I'm going to move back up, change my set over here to look at inventory. There's our car sales price, and we're going to get to see a total of all of these, so we're going to click on the Sum button. Now you'll notice that car sales price remains highlighted here because I may choose to do other calculations as well, such as maybe I want to see the average car's price as well. So I'm going to keep car sales price selected, click on average, and that's now been added to our report as well. So at this stage we've started building up our report. I'm just going to click on Save and now run our request. Once again, keep in mind that I have created no filters on this item. I'm simply summarizing the information as I wanted to provide it. And here's the output of my information. So I can now see that when I see one car, obviously the average and the sum are going to be the same. On the other hand, I can actually see that I do a lot of business with Bay Cities Auto Auction, selling 666 cars to them with an average price received of $2,400, but I'm certainly doing a lot of business with them. Now let's take this report one step further. So when I'm in this report area, I'm just going to close out of here and come back to the designer. And in the designer, I think it's very important to be able to see which ones I do the most amount of business with. So I'm going to click over to Sort and Group, and by default it sorts by dealer name, but I can also choose to sort by. It's going to move over car sales price. So I'm going to move this up to the top. So now you'll notice that I can sort by numerous values, and I'm going to sort by the sum value, and I want to put this in descending order. So I see the businesses that I deal with the most right up at the very top. I can also add to this report a filter. So I'm going to double click to add a new filter, and I'm going to say, well, maybe I want to be able to only look at certain types of cars. So I'm going to say only let's look at cars make is like. And I'm going to use an in the list once again, those we've used in previous examples, so we can see part of the features that are found in the new Foxfires in the list. And once again, I'm going to choose that great feature of Ask at Runtime and save it. So now I can see cars make is in the list. It's an optional filter. I see my details up here, and I can actually make the changes that I want to work from up here. Now, In this case, I'm going to click on Run. We get prompted with our option. Now, if I click on Select in the List, I can actually have a in the list type of mover dialog, so I can choose. Well, maybe I'm interested in only looking at maybe American-built cars or certain types of vehicles that we like to work with. So I'm just going to move over a wide variety of options. Now I'm going to click on OK. It shows the list to me in here, so if I wanted to, instead I could actually have typed out the list. Let's click on OK. I now receive my list, and my list, as we can see here, is now sorted based on the price of sum received. And you can see down below here we have some companies that we've actually done business with, but we haven't been receiving a great price, so they still appear at the bottom of the list, so it makes it very easy for me to see the top listing of my items in here. Now, what's useful about working with Foxfire is from this list, I'm just looking at the report. If I want to print it out, I can easily click on the printer icon or send to printer and send it off. But I can also, from this level, send it to other document formats. So if I choose to put it into a PDF file, I can. If I want to email it to somebody, I can certainly do that as well, simply by choosing email and then specifying the option. But in this case, I want to put it over into an Excel document, so we maybe can do some choices with it. And in this case, I can actually see that I can put it into a variety of different charts. So if I choose to put it into a column chart, and now I hit Send, I'm now prompted to create the Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to leave it named the way it is. And it now generates my Excel spreadsheet, and it will bring up Excel and format it into that chart layout that I wanted to work with. So while I started with a report that I may print out and look at the details on, I'm now taking that same output and migrating it over to Excel, so I then have a spreadsheet, and in this case, in this particular example, I'm going to have a chart that I can start working with and make changes with. Now, when you're dealing with Excel, realize that it's taking all of the information that we've got in here, and we can actually see it moving here. It's migrated all the data into Excel so we can move around with it, and now it's actually running the chart wizard on it. And so here's my final chart, my initial chart that I've pulled up, and by default I'm showing all of the various items that I want to. If I want to change the way the value is looking, of course, I can change how the data is going to be done based on the variety of formats that Excel has provided with me. So when I'm running my report in Foxfire, it's important to realize, here's my basic layout, but I'm not limited to the output choices that I have. I've built up my summary report, and then if I need to, I can always move it over to Excel or to another format to make additional changes on. And this is generally an example of how we can build one single request and use it for multiple purposes. And so back here I am in my request designer, options that I have to me, and I can come back to my request manager and make whatever changes and run it at any point in time. It's still a report, still a summary, but if I want to send it to Excel, I can.